Hello, and thank you for joining us. We're on our show, New Life, series of conversations with Dr. Laitman. Hello, hello, Nitza Mazoz, hello. And we'd like to talk today about the Israeli society. Up till now, on our previous conversations, we talked with Dr. Laitman about different topics in life that speak about connection between people. And as a result of these topics, conversations, we try to learn from different aspects: communication, media, education, business, and so on and so forth. We try to build for ourselves a better life, a new life. And today we'd like to go further into what's going on here and in Israel to better understand the Israeli society and depict some kind of better vision. Nitza, please. So, Israeli society today has a feeling that they've lost their path. A loss of path and despair, and not because there's fear of working hard for something. There's simply no one understands to work in what direction, for what. We lack the vision, the direction that, okay, let's go there. And when you have that picture and you see it clearly, we as a society, we already know what to do and how to do it, only we're lacking this vision, the vision of a new Israeli society in our times now, today. And we'd really like to hear from you, Dr. Laitman. How would you depict this vision of an Israeli society? What values is it based on? Principles, ideals? We see, according to how the world is lately advancing, that the whole approach, the whole attitude is to develop through developing by our ego, through our ego, it went into bankruptcy. We can't develop industry, commerce. We're losing the desire, even the desire to be richer, more successful. People, they can barely bring themselves to work. There is a kind of an inner lack of desire, lack of energy to attain something, kind of an inner distress. The ego that used to push us throughout history and brought us to develop a good kind of development. Today we're capable of doing plenty of things in the world. We form our life such that we can provide every person with everything. But because of the ego that's bursting between us, we're not reaching the good and nice. We can't even supply a person's basic things. There's plenty of poverty alongside with plenty and abundance. 30 or 40% of the food is thrown away, and part of the population needs it, and we pay no attention to it because our ego, it doesn't allow us to think about them. We can help each other in kids' education, in organizing our lives better. We're incapable of doing it because, again, our ego is standing between us and does not allow us. We are in conflict with nature that demands us to be united, connected, integral. The ego doesn't allow us to do that. We see that all in all, in whatever it all comes down, the thing that we stumble upon is human's nature. Is the nature of a human, of the human, and whatever systems we build, systems over systems, whatever we get from it is that very same direction. We all see, we can foresee this, that they will bring us actually nothing. On the other hand, we can see that a person's searching, he wants to see a good goal, and his goal is, first of all, for everyone to get basic needs, to be more equal, more friendly, warmer, for us to feel ourselves as one people, enough with the struggles and the stubbornness and dispute. We're fed up with seeing the leaders that are constantly in arguments and philosophizations. We see that the tycoons, they control the media and the Israeli nation, Israeli society in a very brutal way, crudely. They care about nothing. They hide themselves behind the regime and economical and financial systems, and they themselves hide in their lives. And from there, we really feel more and more how that we're their slaves, that 10 or 20 families that control everything, and under them all of their managers that manage according to how they're being aimed, how the whole country is being aimed, and the nation and everything. That for them, everything it's a business by which they do whatever they feel like with the country and the nation. We see that everything is under the hands of people that are led only by their ego, and they control us such that they too lately don't really feel that they have a real fulfillment, because our nature is changing from within. Our ego is constantly undergoing some kind of a change, and however you turn it, we have to reach a simple conclusion that all of our egoistic advancement has come to an end. A person loses the desire for everything, besides for the necessary things that the body demands, meaning family, food, health, pension, to somehow exist, and well, you have no choice. Bodily, we are on the animate level, and we have to provide ourselves with that. But beyond that, there comes a kind of distress, because there is no goal. What is life all for? What's the need for it? So you live another few hundred years, another few hundred years. We went through all these periods in history, and then what? And also, the whole of humanity is reaching the end of the use of the ego, and that's also supporting this. And we see that the egoistic use of life and other people no longer works. And the fact is that economy and industry and commerce and all that a person does in life is in one great big crisis, general crisis. And from here we have to understand that we have to search how should we work with our nature differently, completely differently. And this is transcending the ego, connecting, compensating, compensating for each other. It's like with Lego, that we complete the picture from something that one part fits with the other, and we have to understand that only through the connection, according to the law or the condition of love covers all crimes, that if we start connecting, even though we're all egoists, we'll reach a different life. As a result of starting to feel the connection between us, we'll start feeling new air, a new fulfillment. And even though that we're all egoists and it's not going to change, we're not about to break the ego, we'll simply start covering ourselves above that, atop that, as if with one blanket. And there's a method how to do it. It's education. Very simple. As simple as that. Because here we just need not to change the person, but to show him that there's a new life, hope, a new form in unity. That the ego needs to show us where are we lacking connection. This is how we have to relate to it, as help made against the ego, meaning that it's working against me, but in a way that it helps me. And every time that I see what a egoistic attitude I have toward life, me and everyone else, if atop that we start relating nicely, as if turning ourselves inside out like a glove. This is how we have to turn ourselves inside out into a new form, instead of hatred, love, instead of rejection, inclination, instead of distance, proximity. And this way, we will build a new platform, a new level of existence of the nation, where from this reciprocal existence, we will know how to better share with everyone more equally. Everyone wants equality, then we'll take care of everyone. In relative equality, like in a family, each one, as a result of the connection between everyone, we give each and every one what he is needy of, the elderly, the young, the children, the parents, and so on. Meaning, then we will be able to treat the family, the people, the country, everything that's going on with us from a new level, and then we'll have everything anew. This is actually what we have to do. We have nothing left to build within the ego. It shows us its end, and shows us that the new degree, the new level, the new life, the advancement can only be above it. And even though that it seems as nice words, and everyone likes to philosophize about it and present themselves that they're targeted at it and they want it and they know how to realize it, but we see that everyone that comes to the regime with all these nice words, whoever comes to power, keeps on doing things like before. Anyone who comes to the realization, he continues according to his ego, meaning we can't get out of our nature. Before, we prepare ourselves for it from within, where each one has to be elevated in the degree of his values, mutual support, mutual responsibility. By building ourselves, each one of us, on a new attitude, one for the other, helping each other. The whole change can come only through education. And not to change anything in society. To begin with, before we reach every person with this new education, and we change him to some extent. And this change doesn't come through pressure, but through raising his awareness. And from this new awareness, we will already know how we should make changes in society. And this will, of course, influence commerce, industry, finance, all the things that we have built because of our ego, where all of us wanted to earn and benefit such that we all wanted to benefit off each other. Instead of that, we'll start seeing a different tendency where all of us are together like in a family. Every time earning more and more, meaning accepting every nation as one, the whole nation as one group, as one body. And then, accordingly, we decide what to do and how to do, and never one on account of the others. Every time we're really pulling for equality, unity or connection out of equality. To really see things as a family. This form has to be set before our eyes as an example that we are a family. How do we then care for all the parts of the nation, for all of society, in health, in everything? But that is after we start feeling it, to the extent to which we start feeling that we are all connected, interconnected. We talked about it a lot, that nature starts to compel us to do it. It's presenting us with us being in a global, integral, interconnected world, and all the more here in Israel, because we're also in a special state where our neighbors that are threatening us and our dependence on the rest of the world, that no country has anything of the kind. This dependence really necessitates us to reorganize this way, to organize ourselves before everyone else. And therefore, the whole solution is in education and the change of man, the person himself, and to the extent to which each one will understand that transcending the ego, connection, unity with everyone, the change from rejection to proximity, from rejection to connection, this is the necessary shift that has to take place, first of all, consciously, through social consent, and then in implementation, through education, through the wide, broad spreading of this new attitude. And from this attitude, we will start changing the systems inside the country. And of course, it's a very broad process, multifaceted process. But we will understand it only if we'll start changing ourselves. Therefore, undoubtedly, first of all, we have to come to education. I'd like to ask the following question from a personal aspect. My grandfather, he came to Israel from Yemen, and I, as an Israeli child, I used to sit a lot with him, and he told me many stories about how he was young, and all that he did, and how he did, and all of his life experience, and on his way to Israel, and here in Israel. My father was already born here in Israel, but my grandfather, he came from Yemen. And when I look at the culture and the songs that they used to sing in Yemen, and in general everywhere around the world, there was kind of an aspiration for the land of Israel, for the Holy Land, a yearning for it. In my personal life, I also lived a certain period of time overseas right after the army. And when I came back here, I didn't plan on coming back. I thought I'm sitting there forever and ever in the Garden of Eden. And when I suddenly felt this desire to come back, surprisingly, I didn't even tell anyone that I'm coming back. I also felt that there is something powerful, warm, good, exciting waiting for me here in Israel. I remember I came out of the airplane, and from within I got this outburst of emotions. Symbolically, I wanted to practically kiss the ground when I came. Maybe because I was in a place disconnected from civilization, and I got this complete restart in my whole and all of my values and so on. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to ask this yearning which has accompanied this nation for so many generations to come back to the Holy Land. If we break this great big word down into details, the Holy Land, what kind of a society is it that people dreamt of? What is it that we dream about? What is this inner dream playing within me that this is the kind of society that I want to live in? And suppose that today, when I'm a father for 4 children, the society that we live in is completely not what I imagined that my children will have. I'm not happy about what they're experiencing anywhere. Simply because I'm already an adult, I see that all the negative things that they're undergoing them. I'm not criticizing. There are also good things. But were you to tell me build or picture a good world for your children, I wouldn't picture what's happening today in Israel. So can you elaborate a bit on this picture, and later we'll talk about how we come to that? And I understand that this is through education and a new awareness, but these are already means. I want to linger a bit on the picture itself. For 65 years, we didn't succeed in creating a life of a dream here. And I don't want to give up the dream. I'm a young person. I'm not even 40. I have plenty of desires to fulfill, and I want to have things here really good, to get every morning up into a festival for me, my children, for everyone. And life, it's like it's depressing us, suppressing us, putting us into this emotional chamber, locked in some emotional dungeon. I'm sure that all the generations that dreamt about Israel, about making heaven on earth here in Israel, this is not what they aspired for. So we missed something. So I'm not blaming anyone or anything. I'm like anyone else, but let's take a clean slate. And here on this clean slate, please explain, what is this wonderful life that I can wake every morning up into with broad open eyes and a smile? For what is that land of Israel, the Holy Land, the Israeli society? Because life today has suppressed me to that extent that all of these pictures were shattered. Can you depict this kind of a picture so we'll have a sort of a vision for a life here in Israel? I think you actually did it. No, I only told you what I don't have. What I don't have, I can give you for many hours. But from you, I want to hear the lines for the good thing. Picture the good so I'll know where I'm going. I don't even know where I'm going. Not how do you depict a good society that you would like to live in and you'd like to leave for your children? What's lacking? We have plenty of everything. You go into the supermarket, you have everything. We have a good army, we have industry, we have agriculture, we have everything. What's missing? What's missing? What's lacking here in Israel? I have no security. I'm all the time in anxiety, security. I'm in anxiety what will happen with my kids because I know that around them there are negative energies and all the time something's happening. You mean country-wise? No, what country-wise? I'm talking inside Israel. If there's a war, I'm talking about a different kind of problem. That's in time of emergency. Let's put that aside. I'm talking on a day-to-day basis. I sent my children to the best possible schools and do everything. Have no security. Security for myself. Everywhere I feel that someone wants to harm me. All the time I feel the people that I live next to, someone on the street. You go into a gas station. So the truck driver wants to kill you for something. All over, you feel bad energy, and only when I'm with my friends or with my close family, I feel in a good atmosphere. So that's what I'm lacking. I want to feel this good all the time. When I was young in the country, I've arranged for myself systems in life, especially with friends, and before I went into the burden of life, I knew what good was. It was all the time to be with friends. What's good today, tomorrow, to all the time being good. And since I became an adult and I finished the army and I went into the madness of life, I see constantly bad interactions around me. And from time to time, I see some good, but all the time it's generally bad. And I can't exactly say what that is. It kind of shackles you inside. So what stands in your way? What? What stands in your way? Because people around you can say the same. I'm sure that they say the same about me. Yes, obviously. And you're standing in their way, they in your way. So what is this bad that if we push it aside, we'll get rid of it, everything will be good? It's the desire to exploit others. That's it. A bad attitude toward others. You don't feel them as your family. You say the best thing was where I to sit at the table with the family, everyone together. Yes, true. These are the good moments that we have. Why can't we feel that all the time? Because we're not a family. I don't feel you as someone close to me. I don't care what's going to happen to you. First of all, for me and for you, maybe you'll have something, or maybe not. Maybe I measure myself, maybe I compare myself to you. The less you'll have, the more I'll feel. That's how I'm built, that's how my ego works. Everything's relative. You know how happiness is measured. In Northern Europe and Scandinavia, people are committing suicide even though they have full abundance. And in Africa, no one commits suicide even though they have nothing. Meaning everything's relative. Meaning that we measure ourselves toward others. So, how do I... You're saying life was beautiful like this, like that, when I was with the friends and we planned what to do. Plan this today. What's the problem? You don't have such people. That together, this is how you treat each other. There are no such friends around you that with them you can feel that you're living in a world that is friendly, that is as a family. Life is an adventure. None, and who's to blame? And it's not the materialistic situation. In terms of matter, you have everything. In terms of your basic needs. On the contrary, were we to treat each other nicely, we would have revealed such abundance that we would have had no idea what to do with all of it. Really so. What's missing? It's a nice relation, the good attitude between us. How do we come to that? Meaning that we have to decide, once and for all, that the bad relations between us destroy people, the Yemenians, the Ethiopians, the Russians, those that were born here, those that weren't, those that came from Poland. In my times, they used to call them Moroccans. They were like... all of that, the hatred, the disregard, the disrespect, that was the basis of this country. We put our whole culture, we brought it into our whole culture. It's everywhere, in everything. We will not be able to arrange a good life, a good and nice life. And it's a shame that we rely or we say that it's because that's lacking, this is lacking, the cottage costs this, this costs that. We see, we won't be able to correct anything this way. What about the riots? The protests, did it help? Didn't help. Today I have ever more, the prices are going up. And do you see anyone taking to the streets? No, people are despaired. It doesn't work. And people see that it doesn't work. And now prices will go sky high. I don't know how we will live. And if you calculate how much is thrown away and how much you have and how much milk is being poured instead of being brought to the shops and how much fruits and vegetables are being burnt in order not to introduce them into the market, not to lower prices, you will see that this is what ruins our life, this attitude. The atmosphere itself is in the air. It's an unfriendly, non-warm attitude. It's an attitude that even though we are relatively, in many ways, better than other nations, we're there, it's all together. Don't touch me. Everything's private. By us, it nonetheless comes to us from some kind of a history as a result of being suppressed by the nations that we're a part of. So we have kind of a tendency toward participation. But nonetheless, it is an attitude. I also came here from overseas, and I too could go to any other country. Any other country. I came out of the coach in Vilna, in Vienna. The whole train were families that came out of Russia. Only 2 families went to Israel. The whole train dispersed to Italy, and the Netherlands, the US. I said, no way. Why? I had a good life there. The only thing that I was lacking was to feel a good atmosphere in life. Well, will I find that in the US? I'll find abundance for sure. You know, then they used to accept people really with everything, especially that I was a long time, they refused my leaving the States, but I had nothing to nowhere else to go. You know, I came with a tent to Israel. I didn't know that they could give me an apartment to rent. I was ready for everything. I came with a tent. But not for this kind of attitude between people, relations. And by the way, back then, relations were much better than now. I was, you know, in the army when I came. In the army, it's a completely different, society. I didn't feel Israel. I felt a society of soldiers, that all of us are together. And, you know, there were still problems back then, security problems. And I used to work in the Air Force, you know, with the airplanes. It was the first planes from Ethiopia landed in our base. Later from us, from Tel Nov, they flew on to Ben Gurion. I saw how people, you know, accepted them. What can I tell you? Of course, it's not what we expected. And we have to understand that overseas we were different as well. When we came to our country, we started building our society. Suddenly the ego, the difference between the different the people that came from different countries, the difference between them. Even in Russia, it withheld 16 different countries: Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, all the southern countries, and the countries of Lithuania, and all the northern countries. And between the Jews, there was no difference. No difference between the Jews. For me, a Jew who lived in Baku or Tashkent or, different countries that are really the southern countries, even though he has a bit of a different color, he has maybe a bit of a different accent. He is different in thought, but he was Jewish. It was really, we would get married easily. There was no difference. There wasn't this kind of a feeling that he's different from me. It was something that he's a Jew and that's it. Whereas here in Israel, the separation became so deep, artificial, as if someone to begin with wanted to control the people this way, and that's why through the media, through the culture, through the education, through the different means, made us truly into one whole that's cut up into pieces. And this is something that didn't exist overseas. Jews overseas, if I come as a Jew to some other place and I go into the synagogue among the Jews there, I'm accepted. He's a Jew. So I have a bit of a different color, maybe a bit of a different mentality, but this is exile made it so. We helped, actually. Here, on the contrary. Here we used to point these things out as if the difference, the gap between us, each one was proud of his own self, of his section, and I was amazed by that when I saw that in the army, even on television. What do you see? What was the humor? The Moroccans against the Ashkenazians, the Polish against the these, those against those. That was culture. That was entertainment, and I was young, and of course I came with a completely different hope to see the nation, the country. I started feeling hatred between the Jews and the seculars, and such a hatred that it's disrespect, and I'm telling you, like a kind of an evil ruler, even evil, cunning ruler, is targeting each one against the other. And I know history, how the English ruled countries, how the Spanish used to go out to South America or North America as well, how they ruled there. One or a few ships used to come to South America where there were millions of Indians, but they started pushing them against each other. These killed these, those killed those, and the Spaniards started ruling them. As if here it's the same, as if someone is targeting us in order to control us, to make wars between us, to create hatred between us, for it to break out. It's really so. I remember from Chassids, when I was with the Rabash, he got his daughter married to an Iraqian student, a student from his student that came from Iraq. He was a very dedicated student. He didn't look at that, and everyone was stunned. It was before I came. How is that possible? The Ashkenazian Admo marries his daughter with someone from Iraq. This attitude. It wasn't felt by us there because we studied Kabbalah. It was all about unity and connection and so on, but that's how it was, truly. I also heard a few words when my daughter got married. The younger daughter, the same. It's as if it doesn't fit, it does fit. This is what I heard. No one told it to me in the face, but it was heard in the background. How could that be? It was only 10 years ago. These things, they were introduced into the nation so much that how will we disconnect from it? We even have such parties, even the religious parties, that they're as if love another as thyself. Look what's going on there. What hatred, what distance there is between the Ashkenazian and the Sephardian parties, between them also. But leave that aside. The nation that were the part of the nation that was brought up in the West, okay, but it's even permeated religion. It's a very big problem. It weakens the nation. It takes all the strength out of the nation, that always there was connection between us as our force, that didn't exist in any other country, among any other nation, that we had no such thing as rulers and servants and slaves forcefully. There was always mutual help. You didn't have, among the Jews, there were never kids thrown on the streets, girls that leave the family and it isn't known where did they go, where did they disappear. No such thing. I think in Yemen and in Russia the same. Jews was always something that they protect themselves, keep themselves. But here there was made such a corruption that it's worse than in any other place in the world, possibly. Relative to how it was before, in those years that we have built the country, we've built the social destruction. Social destruction. We have destroyed the good, nice attitude that we had overseas. We reached no success. Besides being proud that we're using our ego here more than all the nations use them. In this we have succeeded. That's why I, for myself, were I not to find my origins here in the hidden wisdom, I wouldn't have stayed here. Because I wouldn't have felt like my whole family that lives in Canada. Part of them live in the US, part live in England. I have relatives all over the world. I'm here only because I have found an anchor. But were it not for that, I'd leave. What do I have to do here? So, exactly from this point that we really identify with each and his story and his roots, let's progress a bit. So we understand that, okay, we didn't succeed, and we don't want to blame anyone. Didn't succeed. Let's open a clean slate and build on it. So what's missing? What's lacking? Only education. That's it. Just education. Education for what? The education of the people, to return them to their nature, to clean them of all that they had now in these last 50, 60, 70 years here. The basis of the nation, the statute, its basis has to be that we are building a family because we have no other natural example that's clear to everyone but the family. This is the form that we have to reach until each one feels that he is living in a family and he can turn to anyone and he will be accepted as the friend of the family. Up till that point, there's no point in talking about success in anything. Today's life proves it, that we have abundance. We simply don't know how to organize it equally. Even though that there are hungry people in Israel, there was never such a thing ever before. In the past, never. Everywhere where there were Jews, there was no hungry person. He always got help from others. There wasn't anyone who's ill and he was thrown and no one looked at him. There wasn't a young lady without finding her someone to marry. There was great social work done. It's a part of the nation. It's the different charity and helping one another. And it's all gone. On the contrary. As if there is like this evil ruler, like Nimrod. He is ruling us, not letting us not allowing us to come closer, but he spites us at each other in order to rule, and I think that it's targeted by those leaders that rule us till now. And all those societies and all those people that are above them, we have to put this point as the principal point. There is no point more important than that one. Until we reach the point, the form of a family, we will not feel good. And we see that today also have proof from nature that the whole world is advancing toward that form, that we're all interconnected. Not only in Israel, and not only as a result of our nature that we hate each other, and that we're in danger all the time, but altogether the whole world it's more and more taking on the form of a family, but a family, how to put it, the global, yes, but an evil, a bad, and crisis. It's not a crisis. It's something that you can't get divorced, and the hatred is exploding, and you're in one room or in one apartment, and everyone hates the others, really hates them, hates their guts, and you can't even imagine what you would do to the other if you could. And that's how it is in the world and also in our nation. I'd like to ask one more thing before you turn to the world. No. I just remember the world because nature is necessitating us from the outside to take on this form. Okay, so the form is a family. Okay, I'd like to open this up. Okay, suppose we succeed. We like to be optimistic. We want hope in life. If we understand what the goal is, what mutual forces, we'll come to that. We're Israelis. We succeed if we understand where we're going. We're lost. We don't know the path. Set a goal. Great. Together we'll succeed. We did great things in history. So now I have a goal for all of us to feel as one family. Open this a bit further. Suppose that we succeed, and I am an individual in this society that has succeeded in creating this atmosphere of one family. What feelings do I have? What second thoughts do I have? Imagine picture this world emotionally when I live in this kind of a society that is already in this kind of a perception of one family? What does the individual, I, or my family, for the sake of this conversation, experience? Suppose I live in Israel and I have a family that we're 1,000 people. It's a, big family, a broad family. So one of them, he works in Social Security, someone in healthcare, someone in the garage, someone in the bank, someone in the supermarket. My relatives are working everywhere. How do I feel? Fixed in life. Yeah. I go out into the street, I get on the bus. He's my relative. I go into the taxi. My relative. Everywhere I go, he's my relative.
No.
Sounds good, this relative. How do you express this relative? That no one likes, like Owen says, that everyone wants to, cheat him, that they want to really screw me. That's what he says. No one wants to harm me. No one. On the contrary, they want to help as much as possible, according to the ability, according to the laws, according to the different, to our development, according to our abilities. Well, that's how we treat each other, like in a family. The child, he cries, he wants something, and I say, okay, you'll get something, a bit of it, and not now, but next month, but in a good attitude. There are limitations, not beyond what we can give, but from the bottom of the heart, all that we can. This is how everyone is toward each other. That's it. Family is an example which we all understand, and this is what we have to come to. All of us are as one family. So you're saying that actually the fact that we're constantly trying to reach some values, that we really think that if we'll live out of these values of equality, justice, I think that no one understands what equality and justice and all these things are. Everyone interprets it differently. Everyone speaks these nice words, all the filthiest, most cunning people. But just to define it this way, as a family, equality, if we start to philosophize in definitions, we can't find our hands and legs. Each has his own definition for things. If we're talking about the good, nice attitude from the heart, everyone understands what that is. Because in these definitions of equality, what do you demand from me and what do I demand from you? That's no longer a family. You said that feeling as a family is the precondition in order to later on carry out the values of equality, justice. Yes, this will happen naturally. I think that there's a very interesting understanding here, because usually you thrive to fulfill a value. Without any funny business, family is something emotional. It comes from the heart and not the mind, and therefore our education for it has to be to develop feeling of a person toward person. This is why we do it on workshops, in order to develop a feeling toward feelings and not wisdom. The wisdom has to be there only in order to necessitate us to unite. When I ask questions, suppose during the workshop, it's in order for a person to understand that he has no choice. He has to get into connection with others, but that's the result that has to be. Now, if I try to make an analogy, I look at society and I look at myself as an individual, we know that even to be as a nucleus family, it's not something simple. There's a process that they undergo. Are these more or less the same processes in society like in a particular family? Is it easier? Is it harder? Much easier, because there is tremendous, great, big, wide support. that encompasses everyone. It swallows you. You can't think differently. From every corner you see an example. It obligates you. It's simply you can't function any differently. It's not that he's shy. It's not about shame or anything, or that you have to overcome your desire or something. Because if I'm influenced by the external environment, I do the same. It necessitates me. Society obligates me to do things even against my own ego. My ego itself, in order not to be harmed, in order not to be shy, in order to be shamed as a result of envy and so on, looking at each other, my ego starts working together with me. So they won't look at me that I'm this cunning, that I'm using others and so on. I myself can't, and I do it in a good, nice, automatic way. That is the matter of education, that it becomes like a kind of a general wrapping that holds us together nicely. When I try thinking about it as an individual and as a society, will it influence also particular families? Meaning this whole process will also make our family stronger. It will project the power of unity on each and every individual, on every plane and every kind of interaction that you have with others, for sure. Look, what's the problem inside the family? It's the same ego. Each wants to use the others. So, the husband demands what he deserves, she demands the wife what she deserves, the kids what they deserve, and this is how it happens. Only through the general force, broad force that covers everyone. Therefore, it says love covers all crimes. That then, by this cover, each individual, he sort of he makes the concession. We don't have to take care of each and every individual, but that individual will flow with what society necessitates you to. Okay, this is what I wanted to ask about, because people say, how can I imagine a society functioning as a family? I can't succeed in my own family. And you're coming and saying, look, in order to create a social process, if society will rise in 10 grams, each one will have to rise in 100 grams. Because that's the influence. There's a smaller effort. We see how we learn from television, from internet, from different places, how we're being controlled. All these influences that we get from everything. If now I will get a good influence, I have no problem. I'll function like a doll accordingly. But here, I myself, I exist in the general education. It increases things. We don't do it artificially, that we learn this as a kind of a lesson at school among all other lessons, but society has to really engage in it through the media. Society itself is in a bubble, a more external bubble that influences it. That's the media. It's all the different kinds of things that we get from the outside, and therefore we have to make sure that that's where we'll start to influence society from the highest sphere, and from society to the individuals. Our time is up, but I'd nonetheless ask in one sentence the conclusion of your vision of a good Israeli society. I don't know what to say. What is, it's only the feeling of a family. That even in our families today, we don't feel it. Like you would feel with your relatives in the good times, next to the parents, covered, secure, confident, warm, and easy. Life's beautiful. A feeling, the feeling of warmth, participation. help, support, understanding, connection. That's what we need. That's it. A person needs no more than that. There's abundance of the world to fulfill the body, and this is the abundance that we need in order to fill the soul. Thank you very much, Dr. Laitman. Our time is up, and thank you, Nitsa Mazos. Thank you for being with us. Till next time, all the best.